this month the focus is, if it's not weight loss, what else? So when we focus on weight loss, really we engage with very restrictive diets, and those restrictive diets might mean that you might lose out on some good nutrients, but you might also be focusing in on what you're eating, so you might be getting some great nutrients in there too. But the thing is, when we keep thinking about food and we're focused on it, and then we perhaps, we can't sustain it. Like, so many people tell me they can't sustain it because there's one day something happens and it all goes pear-shaped and they've fallen off the diet. Unfortunately, emotions kick in afterwards, and those emotions that kick in are guilt or shame, and our brain starts telling us things like, sure, it's gone now, I may as well let it all out of the bag, or I'm a failure because I haven't succeeded in this again. And maybe even if you succeeded to stay on the diet for a while, beyond 6 months or 12 months, or you've managed to lose weight, but then you've regained it after a couple of years, it's usually a big disappointment in our lives. So we're really trying to shift the approach. It doesn't mean that weight loss can't be a part of your agenda. If that's what you truly want, I nor nobody in my field, I feel, should be here to tell you that that's not what you can aspire to achieve. What we are trying to say is that when we talk about lifestyle changes, magic things happen, great things happen, and those feelings that you have, they tend to subside. So those feelings of failure and shame and guilt, they tend to dissipate away. And really, what are we talking about when we talk about health? We're really talking about how you feel, isn't it, on any given day? So whether we're in a big body or a small body or medium-sized body, what we're talking about is how we feel when we wake up every day. And it's those changes that you make. So go back to that diet. When you bring in new foods and you start to eat in a different way, you do feel better. But it's that all or nothing mentality that gets stuck in the middle. And, long-term studies have found, really interestingly, that people who are overweight, are even in the moderately obese category, live just as long as those of us in normal weight. So if you're interested in learning more about this, you might want to check out the obesity paradox. So I'll say that one again. People who are in the overweight, moderately obese category live just as long as those of us in normal sized bodies. So what has happened in the situation that when you're trying to focus on weight loss and you don't achieve the weight loss, or you do and you regain the weight, we've forgotten this in the middle. And this new approach is about, let's focus in on what really counts. That feeling every day that I have the energy to do what I want, or that I'm happy or content. And look, it's not easy. It's a journey, it's a change, it's a process. But when we do focus in on these health promoting lifestyle changes, we do find there are significant health benefits. So there was a 2012 study found that people of normal weight, overweight, or obese classification that engaged in regular exercise, so that meant that they were exercising more than 12 times a month, they ate 5 portions of fruit and vegetables a day, they reduced down their alcohol consumption, and they avoided smoking, actually lowered their risk of mortality. What does that mean? They lowered their risk of dying earlier. So in that, there's great advice. We talk about reducing out trying to get rid of the smoking. We're talking about reducing down the alcohol. We're talking about increasing fruit and veg intake, and we're talking about regular exercise. I would always add to that, when we talk about our health and well-being, that we work on our sleep, that we get regular eating patterns. I think I call front load your day. So try and eat more earlier in the day than later in the day, because you need to eat to fuel the work that you're doing. If we're eating at nighttime when we're just sitting down, well then we're not going to use up the energy that we're consuming. And also to remember your mind. So there's a great connection between your purpose, your relationships, your spirituality, in terms of how your body responds to that and how beneficial it is for your overall health. Remembering when I talk about health, I'm veering towards what the WHO have defined as health: social, emotional, and physical well-being. not just one. And what we eat can influence how we feel, but it also is part of a bigger approach that we need to look at lots of other pieces in our life. So we think as well about the Blue Zones project. So what we had was the Blue Zones, these are countries that have been studied, and we look at them to see how have the people lived there for longer with a better quality of life. And there was a great project started in a town called Albert Lea in Minnesota in 2019, and they have adopted the guiding principles of the Blue Zones, which means that they have seen significant changes in how those people are interacting with their environment. They had healthy checkouts, so a grab and go checkout for the grocery store. They had education in school, they were planting, they walking buses to schools, they had healthy snack cart going around. They also increased activities for the adult population, so they had bike lanes and they had golf and they had more parks. They continued offering free workshops and education to people, and then they even actually had adult wellness awards. So they were building up a community, and that's what's really important when we think about well-being, is we have to remember that the focus is on let's move more, let's eat wisely, let's connect more, and let's have a more realistic outlook and positive outlook on how things should be, and maybe not the ideals that norms and marketing and media have set up for us over the last number of years. So if we're going to take any inspiration from what they've achieved in Minnesota, is let's just look around us and see where are we putting our expectations, and how much expectation are we putting on ourselves. And if our approach isn't working, is there something else that we need to think about? Start engaging, start learning, start listening, start thinking about things in a different perspective. You don't have to do anything, you don't have to act on it today, but could you start thinking about things from a different perspective that might ultimately benefit your health?